One of the ways I usually end these podcasts is to ask questions that people don't usually think about, because I think it's important to get people's opinion on questions. And if I have you here, I want to know your perspective on things. So one of the questions I always end with is what do you think the meaning of life is? So, I know philosophers and people always talk about that, and I know that I know most people don't think about that, but I'm asking you to get your opinion on it. What do you think we're all here for? What do you think, not even just from a religious perspective, but just from a personal perspective? How do you, what kind of meaning do you attract to life? Or how do you think about the meaning of life, and how does that motivate you to get up and do the things that you do?
Yeah, okay. Well, that's a good question. The way I see it is the meaning of life really depends on the overall person, and I know that sounds kind of obvious, but I'm only saying that because it's for me personally, my meaning of life is just pretty much succeeding in writing my comics, illustrating it, and getting that goal. I feel like as a whole for everyone though, it's just achieving the goal which they want to succeed in, but I don't think everyone fully understands that meaning. And the reason why I say that is because some people don't know what they want to do in life, so they kind of don't really have. They're just living in the moment, and that's not a bad thing. That can be okay. I just think it's just the meaning of life is just doing something you enjoy. But it's difficult because some people don't have the opportunities to do that. Some people don't even know what they want to do, and some people it's just not capable. It's not possible for them, depending on maybe their circumstances, their health.
Here's a question on that. Then you said some people don't know what they want to do. What kind of advice would you give to them? You're obviously aspiring comic, and you've kind of decided that for yourself young, and you've kind of gone after it. What kind of advice would you give for people trying to figure out what they want to do with their life?
I'll be honest with you. The best thing is try out different things, but look at something which you passionately enjoy, and then think of how can you finance that. If you like playing video games, literally just make a stream, and you don't even need to show your face or talk over, just do a let's play. There's lots of YouTubers who do that, who get 7 mils per video. Mm-hmm. You can if you like cooking, make cooking tutorials. If you like, I don't know, making clothing design, anything that you enjoy that is going to turn in, you can profit from it. So it's just finding something you enjoy and then turning it into a skill. That's the advice I would give. Yeah, I was just gonna say, thank you, Jeff, for obviously having me. We had a really fun, interesting conversation. I like the variability of the questions we went from, obviously ranging from anime to even just important topics. You should keep doing your thing, man. Honestly, you're gonna make it. I hope to hopefully jump on into discussion again for sure.
Absolutely, man.
You guys should tune in though. You're gonna be missing out if you don't watch this podcast. Honestly, he will give you £300 if you watch this as well. nah, but honestly,
100%. I think that's exactly it. I was doing it unconsciously too, until one day it just came to me. And just to go on that, I know we've spoke about a lot about your work. I also want to get your opinion on some life stuff too, because I want them to also have a perception about what kind of person you are too. And then we can start with ambition. And I know you're an ambitious person. The question I wanted to ask you is that we just spoke about consistency and transparency and trying to achieve stuff. Do you think, looking around you at the society that we live in currently, the young men are trying to build stuff, are still trying to build, we just spoke of right now, about trying to build something, trying to take that and make money, or just trying to leave a legacy? Do you think people our age and nowadays think about making a legacy, or think about trying to build stuff that lasts? Or do you think we just I don't lead you in the question, or do you think we're still just going after money and just thinking about what's the quickest way to get money? And how do you balance that yourself?
Okay, well, this is just from a perception point of view. This doesn't necessarily mean I'm right, but the vibe that I sometimes get from younger men, I do get this perspective that everyone's more money influenced, because it's let's be honest with you, the only things you see that are getting advertised nowadays on Instagram or YouTube is forex trading, or techniques in knowing what stocks to invest in, betting, or just kind of stuff where it's just more about
foolishness.
No, I'll be honest. I ain't trying to say. I hear that. When you said foolishness, you sound like a knock. The foolishness. Yeah, honestly, it just came out. Nah, you're funny, bro. Nah, I mean, I'll be real. A lot of it is a lot of waffle, but there is a sense of sensibility that comes from what they're doing, because I do feel like it is good to kind of have some sort of education or awareness of like how to make more money. I just think a lot of people get tunnel vision in thinking that money is the most important thing, and it's kind of interesting you say that, because it's like, obviously I'm not trying to go too off track, but the fact that you said young men, like a lot of guys just focus on P's, while girls obviously focus more on like perception and how they look, and that's why it's like nobody is really tapping into the skill that they really have. There's this word which is called I think it's called ikigai or something like that. It's when you kind of do something which you enjoy and then you profit off it by turning it into a skill, and then you obviously end up just doing something which you enjoy. I feel like every single person in this world is capable of obviously doing a specific skill and doing what they like. It's just not everyone is exposed to having the resources that allow them to be able to find that skill which they can actually perfect. And so sometimes people find themselves in the rat race, just working 9 to 5. They're satisfied with like, oh yeah, I have a girl, I have a wife and kids. Some people are just working the rat race life because they don't have any other opportunities, you know, people coming from third world countries and stuff. And then you got like and going back to the young men now, obviously the guys who I don't know how to describe them. I don't want to say like, oh, they're the like the incels or the guys who don't have like dads like male figures, but it's like it sounds like I didn't mean it like. But my point is like those type of men who are like, okay, everything's all about money, and they're just like F everything else. It's kind of like they won't, like I said before, they don't have the resources to obviously allow them to tap into the skill where they can profit off learning the skill to like actually pretty much make money off.
I've got a question on that.
Yeah, go on.
Do you think it's lack of resources, or do you think it's a mentality they need to have? Because I think like if you look around the world, right? We live in London, we live in England, right? We are one of the most resourceful places on earth. Like, where else are you going to get more opportunity, more resources? It's obviously more competitive than everywhere else, but you have the ability, if you have the right mentality, to achieve what you want. And so the people that are just going after money, I get it. First off, if you're really going to go after money, you can only make money if you're good at something. So you have to be competent at it. So if you go after money or something that you're not good at, you're not going to make money. People are just going to make money off you. You know what I mean? So like these people that like, I 100% agree. Like he's mentioned the word ikigai. Like I think 100%. It's like if you were to do something that you genuinely have interest in, you're more going to put more time into it, and that's going to turn out a better product. And that better product is going to, over time, like we said about consistency, over time is going to make you more money. But I think the reason I asked the question, because I look around and I find it very few people are truly chasing after something they want. And I get it. They come up with the same reasons that we just did, you know, about it's hard, you know, you want to get money, so you want to just do a 9 to 5. But I look and I'm like, bro, like it's always going to be hard. It's always been hard. The only decision you got to make is on yourself about what kind of life you want. Do you want a life where you're chasing after a goal that you really want to attain? Or you're going to just chase after something that is just, you know, in the end, when you get it, you're still going to be sad and lonely and you know, not happy. Yeah. So, like, actually going off that then, I got another question about just how it is to live in London, isn't it? Like, I know that we, like, you know, we speak about success and we speak about fame and stuff, but we see people around us trying to, like, always make it. And once they make it, like I said, they just by themselves. And they don't have anything, because it's like it's kind of a cutthroat kind of environment to be in. People like will snake you just to get something from you. Speak on that and how you think, you know, growing up in London has made you aware of that, and has it kind of stopped you from trying to chase success?
With that whole question in itself, it depends on what part. The area which I grew up in, I didn't feel like I needed to push myself. That's why I feel like the first 20 or 21 years of my life, I spent it just kind of like being very oblivious, being in my own head, just thinking, enjoying life for the moment. And it's like, I feel like in order for you to end up getting that strive for success, you need to either go through a stage of like, not like depression, but you need to kind of know what loss is, so you know to strive.
To do some dumb shit,
yeah. You need that one dumb example, or like a scenario just to like kind of kick you in the ass and get your shit together. But the whole thing when it comes to like striving for success, it's like, I do feel like that's another thing with London. People become so obsessed with it that it turns people shiesty. Not even just shiesty, but they just be moving like very questionable. Yeah. And so you find yourself in a scenario where you just need to learn to be socially aware. You need to kind of pick up on like, okay, if you're gonna be chilling with someone, right? And it's like, you're gonna be putting money into something, and then somebody can't pay you back. You shouldn't like chill, not even chill with them, but it's like
You should be aware of that.
you should be aware of that. And it's like, I don't even see that as like the biggest issue, because it's like certain people might be in scenarios where they just might just be having financial issues. It's just knowing the type of people who are making excuses and taking the piss with it. And that really does come from like, obviously coming from an environment which is very competitive. So
But how do we navigate that? Like, if you're living in this environment, everything's compared. How do you think we're gonna like? How do you navigate a world like that and still remain yourself?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I think it's just really just knowing your own character, knowing what you like, knowing what winds you up, and then also not necessarily judging someone, but reading their character. I think, okay, I'll give you an example. For me, for example, I was very, very, very naive in my uni days. I found myself being friends with people, and when they would do certain things, I'd be like, oh, that's just them being them. And so then I'd find myself being in a scenario where I'm like, oh, well, this is kind of long. And the thing is like, I subconsciously knew what their flaws are, and this is why I'm saying it's like, you don't need to be judgmental, but if you see somebody that does something questionable, it's gonna rub you off. Do it as like a red card mentally. Don't be like, oh, I'm not gonna chill with you, but obviously just kind of like, don't put yourself in a scenario where you're gonna be surrounded by that, because then when it's like you're in that scenario, you would either like, I don't know, find yourself stressed. You'll probably be spending more money. You'll probably be like having to like, I don't know, back someone doing a madness. Like, at the end of the day, it's just more about like reading somebody's character, knowing their own, not necessarily flaws, because I don't like saying flaws because everyone's flawed, but it's also a sense of self-defense, really.
I completely agree. I think the way I've dealt with it anyway is that I've kind of come to terms with the fact that some people just aren't like me. Just in the terms of like, I'm very open and I try to be like that because I know that other people, it helps me get along with other open people out there. And so if I was closed off because some other person was being a snake to me, then I would never be able to grow like that. And also that's not in my nature. And so it's like having the confidence in yourself and because I think to be vulnerable is strength, but you have to be vulnerable with the right people. And that's what naivety comes from. Like, if you're just vulnerable with everyone, that doesn't make any sense. You're just going to be walked over. But if you understand and be like, all right, cool, like this person that I met, it looks like a genuine person, I'm going to give you a chance to prove me right, instead of always like, because I think a lot of people in London, because they've been hurt before, they always go around with like, screw face, the screw face capital. I'm like, bruv, it's not that deep, bro. You can smile. Like, it's not that. It's not that. That's not mine. That's Dave's. So I give credit where credit's due. But no, it's like, it's not that deep. Man, you can chill. It's like, I understand going from certain environment, there's certain ways you gotta move, but we all go from that environment, so we all understand that. You know what I mean? So like, you're not telling me something I don't know. I know it's hard. I know you're gonna move mad if I snake you, but I'm not gonna snake you. It's about just having that upfront understanding. And just you mentioned something really interesting when you were answering the question about the doubts and setbacks being the motivation for ambition. Could you speak about how you handle doubts and setbacks before, and how that kind of spurred you on to even be more innovative and even more ambitious in the future?
Yeah, sure. Honestly, for me personally, I've never had like a mad setback where I feel like it's enough for it to be like, I don't know, a character development. But at the same time, I have taken L's where it's like, I realized I'd never want to be in the same scenario I've been in. And it's like, it initially started off with like, and it started off with me kind of like feeling sorry for myself. I kind of be like, oh, it's unfair. Why is it always happening to me? But then the second time a similar L kind of happened, I kind of realized that like the only way for me to genuinely like alleviate this frustration and pain is just by genuinely, I knew what was wrong. It's just doing what it was. So for example, it's like, let's say, okay, for example, if I was like chatting to a girl back in the day and then I took an L, I would kind of be like, oh shit, like this is really deep. But then I kind of ended up realizing that it's like, oh, it's not as deep as it seemed. And then it's like, all I had to do was just approach things differently. Or even just like an argument with someone, like I'd find myself like arguing with someone and then I'd be like, why am I getting myself in a scenario like this? I don't have conflict with people. But then it's like, I realized that maybe it's because it's like, oh, I put myself in a scenario which could have easily been avoided. So I just kind of like, it's just, I think the short answer really is just lateral thinking.
What advice? Oh, that's a good phrase. Develop that. What do you mean by lateral thinking?
So
What
just,
advice would you give to people going through that?
yeah, I'll just say like you just got to assess a scenario, and it really depends on the scenario, which is why I use those two examples. You know, like speaking to a lot or like getting into an argument with someone. A lot of it is just kind of knowing your own. Okay, so when I say lateral thinking, it's like analyzing the situation. You look at the scenario, like why am I here? What did I do wrong? And then what do I need to do to not get myself in the scenario? Just think of those three things, and then you're pretty much set. And yeah, sometimes it may not always work straight away, but it's just kind of like trial and error. You kind of need to break a few eggs in order to make like the whatever that
100%.
yeah. But
100%, yeah,
nah,
100%. To go, yeah, I 100% agree. I think lateral thinking is something I think about too. I consider, I call it first principle thinking. You know, it's like thinking about things from the beginning. You know, like you're right. How did I get here? What did I do to get here? What do I want from it? This actually, what outcome do I want? I think about that a lot. It's like I'm in a situation, right, with a girl or something. I think like, okay, third person perspective of myself. What am I doing? Okay, I'm just trying to be, okay, cool, no, that's not good. Okay, what do I want from this? I want genuine connection. But okay, what I want and what I'm trying to do don't match up. So I got to make a decision. You know, it's like an equation. Like I deep it. Okay, cool. What I really want and what I'm saying I want aren't the same. So then it gives me like more perspective on the situation. And then whatever I choose to do, that's down to me. But at least I'm like aware of that situation. You know what I mean?
100%.
And you know, I mean, like we've spoke about, you know, ambition and stuff. I only get into like I think a lot of ambition sometimes stems from relationships. It stems from girls. You know, specifically just like how I think like sometimes our first like understanding that we need to improve comes from a situation that we deal with girls, right? But like, okay, for me anyway, the question I'm asking myself and the question I'm asking is that like I'm seeing a change. We spoke about this a little bit before. Seeing a change in the environment about like relationships and just how people are dealing with dating and how people are dealing with like just you know, like just the concept of love. The question I'm asking you now is like, do you still think the traditional concept of love exist in our generation? And if not, how has it changed? And follow-up question to that is like, how do we navigate this new landscape then?
Alright, sweet. When you say traditional love, do you mean like old school, like
oh, she's like in love with you, she says I love you, like, you know, you take her out, all of that. The aspect is the same, but like talking about like, do you think it's changed?
I'm gonna keep it real. I do feel like it's changed. But the one thing I do want to clarify is that I'm still 23, so I don't even know whether I've still experienced love. But from my own perspective and perception, the impression I get is now I don't think there's not any sense, but there's no traditional love. Not that there's none, but like traditional love is scarce in this generation. It's nothing more than just and this isn't me being cynical. I think it's just like a false reality. You kind of build up an expectation of how somebody is going to be, and this can be from both sides. And obviously from the guy's perspective, because I'm only speaking for the man, it's going to be like, I feel like girls will kind of build up this perception of how they want a guy to be, and then it's like when he doesn't fall into that characteristic, it would then be like, oh, he's not good enough, he's selfish, he's not considerate. But you're not really taking into consideration the fact that it's not really even, how do you say it, them, it's just you didn't really see the bigger picture. And that's why I'm saying I feel like the traditional love is gone, because it's like when it comes with that blind perspective as well, it's also because of like our environment. See it like this, like the average guy nowadays wouldn't be able to like go up to a girl and just chat to her, and it's not even because of like, oh, the fact that he's shy or anything. It's just like she'll probably have like about 500 other brothers like chatting to her. So it's like no matter what you say, you got to at least say something that's like already outside the box. It already makes things not really traditional. You got to like compete the same way how like I'm sorry, what was the follow-up question?
How do we navigate it? Like you've done really well to diagnose the problem. Yeah. But how do we now as guys like deal with this?
I feel like the best thing for this generation, our best option really is just making yourself, and I don't want to be on some red pill shit, but like just making yourself a high value guy. And I say this because it's like you're hitting two birds with one stone. You're not only improving yourself to like basically achieve the goals that you want to do, be financially sustainable, but at the same time, it's just like I said, I feel like with girls, they have the expectations, and obviously with high expectations, you got to work harder. So the only way you're going to be able to get the type of girl which you want, it means you need to work 5 times harder. And it's like I said before, if she's into a guy who likes an Audi, you just got to get an Audi, man. Like,
Alright, what's your definition of a high value man?
I mean, for me, and this is from my perspective.
Yeah.
Okay, my perspective of a high value man is somebody who's respectable. And when I say respectable, like not even respectable, who respects others. It's like you wouldn't judge someone based on their interests or vibes. You would only judge them by their actions and character. Another another way that I would say high value is if you're able to provide for your family. You don't need to be rich. Like if you're playing some sort of contribution to your family, even if it's like, oh yeah, you're not making the biggest money, you haven't got the best job. I know it doesn't make you like the best type of guy, like, because this is another thing. When I say high value, it's like, I think high value in people's perspective is like top boy, like the best. But a high value just means somebody who has really good character, in my perspective, really good character and morals. So realistically, like I said before, it's just mainly just like your perspective of how you view people, and as well as like how you really treat people, because you got to see it like this as well. I feel like as a guy, it's like we kind of have this, what's it called, biological stereotype we need to play into, which is obviously being like the provider in like relationships as well as the family. And those are really stemmed from like your overall character and morality. If you have a bad character and bad moral, you can have a shit ton of money, but you can be like the most disrespectful guy, like beating your wife, neglecting your kids and all of that. That wouldn't make you high value. That's how I see it anyways, though.
Nah, that's 100%. I think that's so important, the fact that you clarified that, because like you see on the internet, they say this high value people are just people banging a lot of things, getting money, getting cars. And I think that stems from their own a bit of insecurity too, because like, I get it, like that, those things, those possessions might give you more comfort within yourself, might make other people respect you, but you don't respect yourself because you know what you did to get those things. And so what you said about being high value is providing for your family, having good moral character, being good to people. I think those are true strengths. And I think the conversation around high value, especially for people our age, needs to be kind of redefined, because we're always talking about how it is about getting stuff. And that's never going to make you high value. It's about the people who respect you and to see the things that you do, and how you treat people, how you treat people who can't do anything for you, how you treat women, how you treat your family, how you're there for them. And it's weirdly enough, like these things are just like traditional stuff. So like if you grew up in, for example, I grew up in an African household, these are just traditional stuff that you're supposed to have. Your aunties will always tell you, you got to make sure you provide for your wife. You got to make sure that, you go to church and you're religious. All these things that they kind of put onto you. It's those the aunties, man. The aunties always had it right, bro. The aunties had it right from time.
Mindset, it's something which you. I was just saying, it's just something which you kind of like grow into. Like I said, I do think it's an environmental thing, so that's why your perspective is probably very similar to mine, because it's like that's what I was also exposed to.
Yeah, 100%. And to like just to even go off that too, I know that growing up, I know like I remember my aunties always talking about when you're gonna get married and all these things, asking all these questions. I want to ask you, like, do you think people nowadays date to get married? Do you think that's even a thing where, like, how young men, do you think they're really trying to build families and speak for yourself also, but also speak about what you see going on around you, and like just like what you think our generation thinks about marriage, or what you think is going on with the idea of marriage in our current situation?
Oh, sweet. When it comes to marriage, I'll be brutally honest with you. I don't want to make this into like a racial thing. I do think it's a very culturally influenced thing, but from what I see, from what I see, I feel like it's mainly probably like traditional cultural people who come from countries where they take their culture very, very seriously. So probably a lot of Middle Eastern countries, South Asians, some African households, they would take they probably date to marry, and it's like, and I'm only saying this just because it's like from what I've seen. I speak to one of my friends, they'll be like, oh yeah, like I don't really like mess around. I don't fuck around. I'm only trying to just like find one thing.
100%.
But I do feel like as a whole, like this whole generation, they're not dating to marry.
What about you? Like, are you trying to date to marry?
Am I trying to date to marry? I'll be honest with you.
Hey,
You trying to? No, you just caught me red-handed. Like you're trying to put me in like.
Brother's trying to make me say
You're trying to expose me, bro. This guy right here is a criminal. I'm telling you, bro. I need you to sign like an NDA or yeah, no, literally. No, I'll be real. Like, I wouldn't mind doing it. It's just more like I'm gonna keep it real.
100%.
At this moment in time, no, but that really just depends on if I find the right person. If I do find the right person, then yeah. And there was obviously a time where I did obviously feel like that, but then again, who knows if that was genuine or not. It's not that I don't believe it is, but you grow and learn things, you get me? So
Nah, 100%. I think even for myself too. I think growing up, I always wanted to, but then you grow and you start to experience people. Like you have this idea of what you want, but then you actually experience the people in the environment. So you start dating girls and you're like, okay, cool. Like that's not what I thought it was, and so you have to. Your whole standards has now to be readjusted. You know what I mean? Like what am I really like? I don't know anything about girls. You know, like really, how can I get married to one? Maybe I need to experience more, and then your whole kind of perception becomes different. You know what I mean? And so like it's difficult too when you ask young men if they want that, because yeah, of course we'd want that. You want a girl, but like realistically too, it's like, is that even a possibility right now? Like, you know, are you focusing on your grind? Like are we where we want to be? Like, is there different things?
True, that's true.
You know what I mean? Like, no, go on now, finish.
No, I was just saying it just depends on where you're at.
Yeah, 100% depends on where you're at and what you want from your life too. Like some people just want to keep on grinding and keep on achieving stuff before they get to where they want to go. And I know we've been going in a while, so I want to just bring this stage to a close and to round up. Go on.
Okay, I see. I know you're the interviewer, but like, are you dating to get married?
For the longest time, I wasn't, but I think now, like, the more I'm like more getting into my craft, into what I want to do, you know, like the writing, I realize I don't have time to be just dating for the fun of it. You know, like if I do that, like say I go on a date with a girl now and I really genuinely like that girl, right? I know she's not expecting me today to get married, but to me, I have to now access you with that kind of mentality, you know. And then you get the aunties and the moms like, when you gonna get married? I'm like, bruv, like I'm chill, like. But like those that's getting to your mental. You think like if you're trying to be the kind of man you're trying to be, right? It comes to a question: what kind of man you're trying to be, right? Like if the kind of man I'm trying to be is someone who looks after the family, has my own family, you know, like is good to the people around me, to my friends, is respected, you know, but is also respectful, you know. Though that kind of person doesn't just sleep around until he's 30 years old, you know. That kind of person, you know, for me is married and has a kid, and that kind of responsibility takes that on. So like, yeah, I mean, am I dating get married? I guess it's kind of like your answer. Like I would like to, you know, realistically, I think I'm in a position right now where I have to at least be having that perspective. Not saying I'm going to do it in the next couple of years, but at least I have to have that perspective when I meet someone, you know. But like, yeah, I mean, hopefully, but again, reality comes in contact with your expectations, and like, what do you do about that? That's always a question I have to think about. Do you have any more questions? I know, you know, you hate this, trying to hit me. Yeah, I'll try to trip you up, so you try to trip me up too. I see where I go. No worries. All right, so, but like,
go ahead. I'll come up with anything, I'll let you know.
All right, cool. But I was just gonna say, like one of the ways I usually end these podcasts is to ask questions that people don't usually think about, because I think it's important to get people's opinion on questions. And if I have you here, I want to know your perspective on things. So one of the questions I always end with is like, what do you think the meaning of life is? So like, I know like philosophers and people like always talk about that, and I know that, like, you know, I know most people don't think about that, but like I'm asking you to, you know, get your opinion on it. What do you think we're all here for? What do you think, not even just from a religious perspective, but just from a personal perspective? How do you, what kind of meaning do you attract to life, or how do you think about the meaning of life, and how does that motivate you to get up and do the things that you do?
Yeah, okay. Well, you know, that's a good question. The way I see it is the meaning of life really depends on like the overall person, and like, I know that sounds kind of obvious, but I'm only saying that because it's like, for me personally, my meaning of life is just pretty much succeeding in writing my comics, illustrating it, and like getting that goal. I feel like as a whole, for everyone though, it's just achieving the goal which they want to succeed in, but I don't think everyone fully understands that meaning. And the reason why I say that is because some people don't know what they want to do in life, so they kind of don't really have. They're just living in the moment, and that's not a bad thing. That can be okay. I just think it's just the meaning of life is just doing something you enjoy. But it's difficult because some people don't have the opportunities to do that. Some people don't even know what they want to do. and some people it's just not capable. It's not possible for them, depending on like maybe their circumstances, their health.
Here's a question on that. Then you said some people don't know what they want to do. What kind of advice would you give to them? Like, you're obviously like aspiring comic, and you've kind of decided that for yourself young, and you've kind of gone after it. What kind of advice would you give for people trying to figure out what they want to do with their life?
I'll be honest with you. The best thing is try out different things, but look at something which you passionately enjoy, and then think of how can you finance that. If you like playing video games, literally just make a stream, and like you don't even need to show your face or talk over. Just do a let's play. Like there's lots of YouTubers who do that, who get like 7 mils per video. You can if you like cooking, like make cooking tutorials. If you like, I don't know, making clothing design, anything that you enjoy that is going to turn in, you can profit from it. So it's just finding something you enjoy and then turning it into a skill. That's the advice I would give.
100%. I think like it's simple, but people just don't have the motivation to do it, and I don't know why. And I think so. I gotta be transparent, bro. So the thing cut out, obviously, as it always does. I'm telling you guys, like, this is part of the experience. This is part of me learning and growing. And so you guys are here for the start. I'm gonna make it like it's a privilege for them to have it. You guys are here from the start, innit? Like when you get to see, Jeff when he was, just starting up, and the thing with the cut off, and you'd like go back to whatever. But okay, cool. I had
mistakes, isn't it?
Exactly. First, you gotta make them so you can get better. But I had one more question I wanted to end with. That I always ask this question to people because I guess people don't think about it enough. But what do you think? Do you think about your own mortality? Do you think about death? Do you think about when that day eventually comes, and how does that motivate you in your day to day? How does that make you think about your time with your family, with the people that you love, your friends and stuff like that? Come on, the question, bro.
No, that one's very deep. I can't.
That's a deep question.
Yeah. Shit. I'm gonna keep it very casual. I'll say I was gonna keep it real. No, I'm not. I'm joking. I'll keep it real. I'll be real. I don't really think of death like that. Although there are times where if I am like in a really like bad mindset, I'll probably be like. It's not like you'll be thinking of it, but you just kind of just be like, oh no, like you know when you over exaggerate and you kind of just be pissed and you be like, oh no, like. But no, I'll be honest with you. I try not to think of it. It's not really. It's something I avoid trying to think, because it's like, even though it's inevitable, you just don't really know what's going to go on, and that's like, it's the more you ponder on, it kind of makes you think of certain things, and I don't know. It's a bit of a.
Can I just develop why I asked that question? Yeah. I think you're right. People don't think about it, and I think they think because it's morbid, right? But I'm trying to come at it from a different perspective of like, we all know we're going to die. That's not like news to anyone. But I think most people just live life in a kind of like a daze without realizing that. So I'm just trying to get people to just deep it more about like the relationship you have with people, how much time you have with people, right? Your parents and all these people that you truly love. That like you go home today, just think like, oh right, like I do really genuinely like have like I love this person, and maybe I don't always show it, and one day they're not going to be here. So just to get people to just think about that a bit, just to be like, like it motivates you to get out and do that thing you want to do, because you realize that like your time is running off, and like you really do want to achieve the things you want to achieve. You know what I mean? So to not to have it from a morbid, I'm gonna die, I want to kill myself perspective, because I'll never be that. But like in the perspective of like, okay, cool, I don't have all the time in the world, I'm not immortal, so my time thing is shrunk. So actually, let me get out there and achieve the things I want to do. So like I'm sure it's just like, because to me like that motivates me. Like I often think about like, all right, cool, one day I'm not going to be here. Like why do I worry about posting this thing about poetry, like about this girl? Like fuck it, bro. It's like, doesn't matter. People are gonna forget. She's gonna forget. I'm gonna be dead. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be dead. You can't come for me when I'm dead. But like in terms of like, just, you know what I mean, to make you less anxious about everything. You know, more like in tune with the world, how really things are. Everything is impermanent. So, you know, you talk about like, you know, Japanese philosophy, like, you know, like everything is impermanent. Change is part of it, and that's the ultimate change that happened. So that in the moment, not to get too scared up and caught up on the details, to understand that things just will happen and it won't happen, and you need to be part of that process. So if you want to create something, you should do it and completely not think about what other people will think, or not to get too caught up on it. Obviously it's hard because people are still gonna have opinions about you, but like, just to understand their opinion about you is not really about you. It's about them, how they see you. You know what I mean? It's more about them. So just that's why I asked that question, just to go off that.
No, I hear you. I'll be honest with you. When you say it like that, I feel each phase in our life, we have specific objectives which we need to achieve. And I know I don't know if this is a healthy way of looking at it. I feel like it's a bit healthy for me because it helps me push myself. But it's like, for example, I look at like the average 22-year-old and I'm like, okay, a 23-year-old and I'm like, okay, earning probably 25k, still lives with his parents, probably works 9 to 5, all of that. And I see it's like, this is only going to be, like you said before, it's only going to be a phase before it changes. And I feel that you need to be able to succeed and get in certain things before getting to the next phase, or you're going to be delayed and kind of be like behind. That's why it's like, when it comes to the whole thing with mortality, it's like a ticking time bomb, because you don't even know when you're gonna die, like you said. So it's like, what you said is very, very true. You know, you gotta just jump at what you want to do. That's why I do view life as like, okay, at this age I want to get this and this done. If I don't, then I'm going to be behind. And it's not really like I'm saying I'm behind because I want to compare myself to other people, but you need to be realistic in yourself to push yourself, or you're going to realize you haven't succeeded in anything you wanted to do in life.
It's cool. We're nearly done. I just wanted to do a little bit of outro, just to say first off, thank you so much for coming, bro. Thank you so much for.
It's been a pleasure, man. Honestly.
100%. I wanted to say before you go, and I'll give you a mic if you want to say anything before we end up. That it's amazing to hear your influence. It's amazing to hear more about your story. It was amazing to read it, bro. It's like literally like the relatability, the action, the characters, the comedy. Like I was laughing out loud some of that, and I could tell like you were laughing too, because you can see when an artist like is really enjoying his craft. I could definitely see that with you. So it's like, I'm really looking forward to it. You're one of the people that I know that I'm really looking forward to their progression and their process and their progress, because I know that where you're heading far, man. You're heading far. You just need consistency, and I'm going to be on your case to make sure you're consistent. You know what I mean? To make sure you're consistent, because now I'm invested into your growth too. So thank you for coming. And is there anything you want to say before we end this thing?
Yeah. I was just going to say, thank you, Jeff, for obviously having me. Like, we had a really fun, interesting conversation. I like the variability of like the questions we went from, obviously ranging from like anime to like even just like important topics. You should keep doing your thing, man. Honestly, like, you're going to make it. I hope to hopefully like jump on into like discussion again for sure.
Absolutely, man.
You guys should tune in though. Like, you're going to be missing out if you don't watch this podcast. Like, honestly, like, he will give you like £300 if you watch this as well. nah, church. But like, honestly, watch it. Nah, you're right.
You're the one in the comics, bro. You're gonna look dirty.
Yeah, maybe. Nah, but honestly, like, yeah, just tune into Jeff's stuff. He's got some really good content, man.
100%. Thank you so much. And you heard it, brother. Yeah. The last, I mean, it's crazy. You saying that, yeah. The last person had said the same thing. Her closing thing was like, oh, make sure you listen to Jeff. Yeah. So two have told you that now, yeah. So you know I'm on that, bruv. You know I'm on that. I'm coming take over the world. But yeah, thank you so much for coming today. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your time. It's getting late. We're gonna go out and have fun. So I'll see you, man, in a bit. Peace.
Sweet. Boom. I was gonna say you should set a like goal, be like 100 likes, and then.
I'm not there yet, bro. Some people watch my thing, like I got like 30 views. I said 100 likes.